Well, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes on the Daybreak show on AM 1030 and FM 1033 via Zoom video conference. I'm happy to talk with the great folks of the Economic Development Council of Mason County. Jennifer, Karin, how are you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
We're doing well. We're continuing on. And I understand that you guys have been able to, in the last couple of days, recently been out to get out into the community and hand out some checks for folks who had filled out some of those grant applications. Tell me about where this money is coming from. And, there's privacy concerns about the recipients, and that's great. But, a lot of folks out there may be getting a little bit of assistance.
It's been the culmination of all of the paperwork we've gone through, all the processes of working with Commerce. So this is the good part, or the part that makes us realize that all of that hard work does pay off.
Yes.
This is funds that this was the original funds back in April from Department of Commerce that the governor allocated from the Strategic Reserve Fund. So it had specific things that had to happen around it, which is why it took so long to get the funding out to it. But we were allocated grants up to $10,000 for 17 of our businesses. So being able to get all of their paperwork in, all of their expense tracking, because it's state funding, you have to have the paperwork to match it up. So being able to cut those checks, seeing those come into the account, being able to cut the checks, being able to take them, and just the people's emotional response to finally being able to have that support.
Well, as I think about this, and you're talking April, and now we're almost in August, that's a long time for business owners or recipients to be kind of on the bubble, waiting and trying to figure out what's going on. I'm sure there was a lot of calls between you and the businesses who applied about, well, did I get denied? What's happening? Is it just a longer process? We're struggling in the middle of all this, but it's got to be pretty cool when you finally give them that phone call, say you're coming by.
Yeah, it's made all of that hard work, like Jennifer said, all the blood, sweat, and tears it's all worth it, to hand them a check and, their eyes well up. They want to give you a hug, and it's like, no, please don't.
Yeah.
COVID. Thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
Yeah, they're just so overwhelmed and thankful that, they're, even if it just paid their rents for 2 or 3 months, that meant the world to them to be able to get that off their shoulder and get a little out of the red.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. And obviously it's their money and they can kind of do with it as they see fit to help their business. But do you get a sense that it's a lot of rent payments that they're trying to make, or is this the payroll one, or where does the money go to?
So the payroll protection money has already started going out, but that's going through your banks. So I don't know that we're going to get much information on that, other than that money is already going into the businesses. For this one specifically, it wasn't payroll, it was everything else. But this was a reimbursement fund, so they had to have already spent that money to be able to, and it had to be up to that $10,000 to be able to qualify for it. You had to be able to, or to show your expenses of that amount. So this isn't funding for future bills. This is stuff that has already come out of their savings, that has already come out of their personal accounts to support their businesses. So my guess is it's either going to go back into the credit card that paid for that, or the savings account that paid for that, or be able to be used with the business saying, all right, well, we already used our savings on that. Let's use this money for additional rent or additional utilities that's coming forward. But they had to have already spent that money to be able to get it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet that was a nerve-wracking few months then.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's tough because
stress.
Go ahead, Karin. Sorry.
Oh, no, nothing. I was just saying it's a lot of uncertainty and stress for them. The process took longer than we had anticipated, and longer than Commerce themselves had really anticipated. So, it was just a lot of phone calls assuring them, yes, you were approved. Yes, we're working on it. As soon as we get that money, we're going to get it to you. And as soon as this is over, I'm going to be running up to the Belfair. I've got a couple businesses that are, probably sitting by their front door right now, waiting for me to get there.
Where is she?
I
Yeah,
know.
the credit cards are maxed out.
They said 2:00. What the heck, man? We're waiting for her.
Yeah.
So this was the April money. What else is coming through the pipeline to help residents of Mason County? And is there a shorter timeline on the payout on these next ones?
The nice part is that everything is shorter now that that long period happened, where all of the places that have money have been able to put those systems into place. So now it's not a matter of we have to recreate or we have to create a whole application, a whole distribution. That's already there. So we have, we've just finished and awarded our micro enterprise grants. Those were for the low to moderate income businesses that have less than 5 employees. Those will start going out as we get their financial documents in. Again, you still have to, it's a reimbursable grant a reimbursable grant.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have spent that money in order to get it. So that requires documentation. So that's next step for that. But the county is releasing funds from the CARES Act dollars that they gave to support businesses. They're approving it at their next public meeting, I believe at the beginning of August. That process, it's just a matter of making sure that those applications get in, meet the criteria, and we'll be able to move that forward faster. Commerce has identified an additional $20 million, not from strategic reserve, so it's not going to have quite the strings that are attached to it, but it will be able to move faster. So you're seeing all of these things come online that the last few months they've been taking to put into play. So those should move pretty fast, and you should see that funding go back into the community a lot quicker.
What do you get a sense of how the business economy is doing in Mason County? Talking with a lot of these folks over the last couple of months, we were hit very hard, obviously, in early March, and then as the lockdowns progressed, and now we're kind of hemorrhaging between a phase 2, a phase 3, and a modified phase 3 in there somewhere. What's it like out there on Main Street for these businesses?
I think it's going to be a struggle for a while, and I think the thing that we can do the most as our community members, as business supporters, as business owners, is make sure that we are doing everything that we can to not have to go back a phase. Mm-hmm. So masks are horrible. They suck. They're hot. They're awful, but they are a number one deterrent that we can control, that will help our businesses be successful. Mm-hmm. Don't complain about having to wear them in the store. The business owners are doing what they can to make sure that your experience is as pleasant and as uninfecting, that's a word, as possible. So support them by doing what you can. You might not be sick, you might not be around anybody that's sick, but you're doing what you can to prevent anything from happening in a situation that you can control. If it's going to happen, it's probably going to happen outside of your control, but to help those businesses be able to stay in business, complaining to them won't help. Yeah. They have to adhere to their own set of regulations, and if they don't, they could potentially be fined an even greater amount if they're not advocating for that or working with those safety precautions. Next step for that would be a business license removal. We don't want our businesses to be in a position where they have to make that. I mean, how uncomfortable is it to even say to somebody, to come in here, you have to have your mask on, but to have somebody come back at them and say, no, there has to be a give and take, and there has to be, right now, I'd say it's kind of an empathetic movement. We need to be able to realize that, do I think I'm going to infect somebody? No. Do I think somebody is going to infect me? I need to be able to take those necessary precautions that those businesses need to take in order to operate. So
You know,
I
we were,
think
I mean, I was out this morning and there's a lot of fear. People are already saying things slow down. A couple specific businesses, and it's the fear of us going back to a phase 2 or a more modified version of phase 3. And like Jennifer said, the simplest thing that you can do to help support these businesses is put your mask on. How long do you have to wear it? 2 minutes to walk to your table, to sit down and then be able to remove your mask. That's the best thing that you can do, not only for yourself and the people around you, but for our local businesses. Those staff people that are greeting you, they're doing their job under the direction of their owner, their business owner, or management. And it's really, to me, it's a small thing to ask of folks, is to just wear a mask.
I saw Tom Hanks on TV the other day. He and his wife Rita Wilson contracted it down in Australia or something like that, and he was talking about it in terms of World War II and the efforts done there. And it was interesting with him talking about it, and then I heard some other folks saying, listen, during the war we had folks in New York and in London, they shut off all their lights. They said, you got to turn your lights off because the planes are flying overhead. They can see the lights, and you know what's going to happen. And
Right.
and you didn't have one person in the apartment building saying, "You can't see my light," or
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
read or something. No, everybody was able to understand that a light on possibly meant a bomb dropping. That was a real thing. And well,
Yeah.
we start to see the president wearing some masks and some pictures and things, and the vice president's been doing a pretty good job. So maybe that will help other parts of the population out there. We were at a store the other day, maybe 10 minutes, and it was starting to get uncomfortable, so we zipped through. But the folks that are working there that 8-hour day, they're the ones that are being breathed on by hundreds of people, not just our
Right.
one interaction.
It's just a small ask. You see people with disabilities, loss of limbs, they're visually impaired, and they're making it work every single day. You can wear a mask for 10, 30 minutes, whatever it may be. It's just a small thing. And again, it's just to support our small businesses and the people around you.
Yeah.
Well, and my limited knowledge of biology, I can't make a vaccine. I can't offer much to that process. So I need to be able to look at what I can control within my sphere. And that is me and maybe my dog Cooper. So looking at what it is that we can do to help those businesses operate without that fear, and how, if we can get ourselves to a place where we can interact more normally, even with a mask, even socially distanced, that fear in us will start to lessen its grip that we have. We're still doing what we can to be safe. We're still supporting our businesses. We're still buying things. We're still out in the community experiencing the beautiful nature that we have, but we're doing it in a safe and as effective as we can manage way.
ChooseMason.com, the website for information on all of the grants, COVID information, the Business Builder course, it's all there, and detailed information on Mason County in general. If you're watching one of these interviews from outside of the county and you're looking to start business, Mason County is a great place to do it. ChooseMason.com. Karin, Jennifer, good to see you. Be safe.
Good to see you.
And we'll catch
Thanks
up
for
again
having
soon.
us.
Of course.
All right.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.